Taking you live now to some live pictures. These shots are from Melbourne Airport. Now, this is where world number one Novak Djokovic is set to be flying home back to Serbia. He's currently scheduled to be leaving on a Emirates flight after losing his visa appeal. As you can see, there are some pictures there coming into us. These are live shots from Melbourne Airport. Obviously, it's dark at the moment, but from what we can see, there is an Emirates flight about to take off from Melbourne. Djokovic was detained at Australia's Melbourne Airport on January 5 after failing to provide proof of his medical exemption for coronavirus vaccines to Australian border control officers. Now, after the world number one was sent to an immigration detention hotel in Melbourne, a federal court ordered his release. But Australian authorities revoked the Serbian tennis superstar's visa for a second time. He will now miss out on this year's Australian Open. The verdict only came in quite late this afternoon. It was just before 6 p.m. Eastern. We heard from the court that Novak Djokovic's bid to stay here an appeal had been cancelled, and the decision from the federal government and the immigration minister was upheld. That happened at around 6 p.m. Eastern this afternoon and evening, so it's only taken him a matter of 4 to 5 hours to get on almost the first flight out of here. I will point out Djokovic is actually facing a 3-year ban on entering the country, but they will, of course, appeal to overturn this, and the courts do of course, look at overtaking these penalties based on case-by-case basis. Another thing I will point out is that Djokovic has to front the government's legal bills for this battle as well. So those 2 points have come to light since we did hear Novak Djokovic's bid to stay here in Australia to compete in the Australian Open had been cancelled. You can almost see here, you can always make out with those lights the flight taking off. Novak Djokovic is on this flight. He's leaving Melbourne as we speak. The flight was scheduled to leave at around 10:30 Eastern, slightly delayed by around 20 minutes, but safe to say, after this evening, Novak Djokovic will be out of the country and, of course, facing a 3-year ban from entering, given his vaccination status and, of course, the appeals he failed in getting in regards to entering and competing in this year's Australian Open. In terms of the Australian Open, where it stands, well, we are on the eve of the Australian Open set to start tomorrow. Novak Djokovic was set to take centre court tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. on the main Rod Laver Arena. That obviously will no longer be occurring, and we are yet to hear from Tennis Australia in regards to the schedule. It will be changed at this point because Djokovic is no longer partaking in the tournament. Another thing that we've got to check in with, of course, is where it stands for other unvaccinated people entering the country from here on in. It's sort of set a precedent, hasn't it, in regards to people who are not vaccinated to COVID-19. There's that flight. It's an Emirates flight taking off from Melbourne International Airport. Novak Djokovic is allegedly on board this plane, and he is leaving Melbourne as we speak.
Wow, people, wow. Yeah, and they denied Novak Djokovic to be able to play in the Australian Open tournament. Yeah, the Australian Open tennis tournament. Wow. And now he's banned from entering Australia for at least 3 years because he was failed to provide medical extension proof of that. He failed to provide proof of the medical extension, and which he of course had that. Which I'm going to go to the of course he's been playing in the Australian Open since 2008, and that would have been like his 10th time there. And let's go to the controversy. Let's go down. There is 2020 Australian Open controversy. Djokovic was set to begin in his 2022 season by participating in the Australian Tennis Open. But pulled out. But by the next Australian Open, when there is a 3 times defending champion, Djokovic was a handful of players and the staff to be granted a medical exemption from the military, yet from the C-19 jab by the Tennis Australia and the Department of Health of the state of government Victoria. And guess who's the governor of Victoria? Dan Andrews. Yet, an absolute muppet. And which I'm going to go to it and see what his view is on that. And let's see about that. I'm only going to watch
in the show. Now,
I'm only going to watch about probably the first 80 seconds of this, which is about 1 minute and 20 seconds of this. So I'm going to see what they say on that. Dan Andrews hedges bet on this return.
just in case you missed it earlier in the show, I want to play you what Victorian Premier Dan Andrews said today, again, in response to the Novak Djokovic visa case. Now, bear in mind, the chairman, more than any other politician in the country, and it was on his turf, of course, was adamant about not allowing any unvaccinated player.
Yeah, because it's on his turf. Yeah, it is on his turf. Dan Andrews decides. Yeah, because the bill that was passed means he can rule by decree
To compete in the Australian Open next week. Well, on his return from a very comfortable 24-day holiday, can you imagine if Scott Morrison took 24 days off? Dan was almost fence-sitting.
I think that Rafa and a few others have made the position very, very clear. This tournament is much bigger than any one person. The nature of quite extraordinary powers that are held by the immigration minister is that I'm not going to be out there every day calling for him to use them or not use them. That's a matter for him.
That's a matter for him.
Oh, really? Really? Gosh, Dan Andrews, man, he is hard to look at. His play is just as hard to look at as trying to look at Arden. Gosh. These people, man, they just don't look human to me, man. They are just, they do what is so inhuman, and gosh, cause the bill that was passed, which I probably said it again, cause means he rules by decree. He decides what's to come in Melbourne, Victoria.
It's no reason to smirk either. It was a Victorian Health Department panel which handed Djokovic an exemption.
No reason to smirk. Oh boy.
To play. As he called for an investigation into that, he should. Meanwhile, Australia's Nick Kyrgios, isolating due to a COVID infection, must have become rather bored as he weighed in again to the Djokovic drama.
We know that the media like to create storms. Everything going on with Novak, I feel quite embarrassed as an Australian athlete that's seen what this guy has done, for us and, for the sport. I just don't think it's right how we're handling it.
Yeah, and I can agree on him. What I was supposed to just watch it for about a minute, 20 minutes, but I decided to watch for another 15 seconds, see what he's got to say, so let's move on from that. Yeah, this Tennis Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic held at the Melbourne airport. Political maelstrom, and well, Yeah, of course he actually touched down at here. He had to wait permission to enter the country, and but after taking appeal for a visa that did not allow for medical extension. Wow.
You're at the airport, Novak Djokovic is at the airport, and no one's sure what's happening next.
Oh, who knows what is going to happen next, Eddie. It's now almost 6 hours since he landed in Melbourne Airport, but right now, as far as we know, he's inside a room by himself with no mobile phone, being grilled by the Border Force.
No mobile phone, so he can't contact anyone. Let's hear that.
You're at the airport, Novak Djokovic is at the airport, and no one's sure what's happening next.
Oh, who knows what is going to happen next, Eddie. It's now almost 6 hours since he landed in Melbourne Airport, but right now, as far as we know, he's inside a room by himself with no mobile phone.
So it means no mobile phone, so he can't contact anyone. Wow.
Being grilled by the Border Force, and that is because apparently someone in his team has filled out the wrong visa, and the visa that they've applied for doesn't allow for medical exemptions based on vaccines.
So they don't allow medical extensions, so.
Wrong visa, and the visa that they've applied for doesn't allow for medical exemptions based on vaccines. His coach has just put up a selfie on Instagram which shows him sitting in a lounge somewhere in the airport. Novak is nowhere to be seen. And the caption reads, far from the usual trip down under. There has been so much anger in Victoria and Australia, for that matter, in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, and that's for good reason. People are angry for a reason.
In terms of how Novak was even allowed to get this far, and the federal government and the Victorian government have essentially been having their own tennis match, hitting back the blame on each other. Our acting sports minister put out a tweet last night saying the federal government has asked for Victoria to approve Novak's visa application, but they will not be doing that. Meanwhile, here's what the Prime Minister had to say about it.
If he's not vaccinated, he must provide acceptable proof that he cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons, and to be able to access the same travel arrangements as fully vaccinated travellers. So we await his presentation and what evidence he provides to support that. If that evidence is insufficient, then he won't be treated any different to anyone else, and he'll be on the next plane home.
Meanwhile, no.
Yeah, and wish that has happened, and wish I'll be getting to that soon enough.
Novak's father has just given the Serbian media one of the craziest statements I've ever seen, Eddie. I'll read you a bit of this now. He's told media, I have no idea what's going on. They're holding my son captive for 5 hours. If they don't let him go in half an hour, we will gather on the street. This is a fight for everyone. So just another normal day in Victoria.
Yeah, a fight for everyone, man. Yeah, even his father is really going to the media, though.
We're here at the moment, Eddie.
Where is the father, Nathan? He's not here. He's back home, is he?
No, he's not over there. He's back home talking to the media. He's fuming. He's saying his son's being held without a mobile phone, and the whole Djokovic camp is very angry right now. It's an incredible turn of events. Can't believe that when I woke up this morning that this was.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow. Yeah. Held in a hotel, angry Aussie, they're angry for a reason, but we probably don't see many of it. Yeah, and finally for a conference over infection questions. Well, look like Spurs are up over in Serbia. Yeah, there's people with Spurs up over there because they know they support their fellow tennis player that was from that country.
From one court to another, Novak Djokovic is back in training. The men's world tennis #1 was released from Australian immigration detention on Monday after winning a legal challenge to remain in the country and defend his Australian Open title. Fans in Australia and back home in Serbia welcomed the news.
Oh
Judge
man,
Anthony
the
Kelly
spirits
had found
up.
the Australian federal government's decision to cancel Djokovic's visa to be unreasonable because the player wasn't given enough time to speak to tennis organisers and lawyers to respond fully after he was notified of the intent to cancel his visa. The tennis star's family, including brother George, were delighted with the ruling.
I gotta say how much I admire Judge Kelly and the way he led with the whole court process, because I think it was very detailed, it was very thorough, and it was very neutral. And I want to thank him in front of the family for leading the process in such a way, and for showing the world the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
But it received a much more mixed reception from some Melbourne residents.
I think the decision that is being overturned is a little bit unfair, because I still think, obviously if you're coming from an international place, then you do have to be vaccinated.
There's just both sides to it.
Ugh. He had to be jabbed. Oh gosh, really?
There's the side where he was let in, and then now he's come all the way here and they're saying that he can't play. But then on the other hand, there's all the players in the Oz Open who have done the right thing, have gotten vaccinated, and they're playing because they're allowed to be here.
A spokesperson for Australia's Immigration Minister Alex Hawke said he was considering using his personal power to again revoke Djokovic's visa, which could include a 3-year ban on re-entering. According to court documents, Djokovic tested positive for COVID-19 on December the 16th, allowing him a medical exemption to come to Australia. But questions have been raised about whether he attended an event on December 17th, something that was put to the Djokovic family during a press conference.
Yeah, an event on the 17th of December.
Okay, so this press conference is adjourned at the moment. Thank you for attention. Hvala svima još jednom što ste došli. Želimo vam sve.
Yeah, and now on to the Prime Minister of Serbia. Which is about... Yeah.
Than staying in the hostel until the final decision is made.
We've heard from the Serbian president, and he's described it as political persecution. We have that on...
Because he has been persecuted. Yeah. You just saw it just then.
Tape.
Well, I have to say, firstly, the president of the Republic of Serbia, Mr. Aleksandar Vučić, is in direct contact with Novak Djokovic, as well as his family. He spoke to him last night. He spoke to him again this morning. I'm in touch with our embassy in Australia, and obviously the Australian embassy here in Belgrade. And I have also requested if I can speak directly to the Minister of the Home Affairs of Australia. What we do not really understand is that Novak has got a medical exemption. That is why he was allowed to participate in the Australian Open, in the Grand Slam.
Oh, sorry, yes, something about the medical exemption.
Novak has got a medical exemption. That is why he was allowed to participate in the Australian Open, in the Grand Slam.
Yeah, so he actually did have the medical exemption, but what Scott Morrison said, he had to provide proof of it. Did he have proof of the medical exemption? Well, I'm not too sure of that he did have proof of it or what. What's that, people? You be the judge.
Novak also boarded the plane to Australia. And again, all of us know that if you do not have a visa or you do not have a clearance to enter a country, you can't board the plane, especially a plane that is going all the way to Australia. And other tennis players also got medical exemption and were allowed to enter Australia and participate.
Yeah, well, they actually have medical extension, but why does Novak Djokovic was allowed to compete in the tournament? Yeah, that is just something odd. Because he actually did have medical extension and...
But I don't want to really, go into all of the immigration rules in Australia. What is important to me right now is that Novak is not in the hostel for migrants, that he's allowed to be in isolation until the final decision is made in the house that he rented, where he could actually be in the isolation and respect all of the Australia's rules. That is the only thing that we're asking for right now.
Yeah, and that's all I gotta say for now. That's all I'm gonna watch. Now it's time to move on. Yeah, Novak's Djokovic visa judge blocks Serbian bid to remain in Australia. Yeah, he said it is extremely disappointing with the judge's decision to uphold the cancellation of his visa will not appeal the ruling. Yeah. And it is a sad day for a man. I'm just wondering why. Because why if you're not jab? Yeah, oh, let's go back here. And over 70% of Australia want to deport. Don't believe a bit of
A hearing to determine whether world number one tennis star Novak Djokovic will be deported is underway in Melbourne. The hearing is being conducted online with 3 judges in separate locations and is expected to reach a decision prior to lunchtime. Mr Djokovic's legal team is making submissions refuting the government's argument that the world number one, if allowed to stay in Australia, will promote anti-vax sentiment. The case has been heard.
Anti-jab sentiment. Wow. And no wonder why they don't want him in the tournament. Because he could be the leading example.
Heard in front of the full court rather than a single judge, which means neither side can appeal the final decision. Novak Djokovic is watching the hearing from his lawyers' offices in Melbourne and, if allowed to remain, will play in the Australian Open tomorrow. And a new survey shows 71% of Australians want Novak Djokovic to be deported.
71%. Is that even true? 71% of them want him deported? Really? If that's really the case, how naive are the Australians? They really are how naive. Gosh. I don't believe it's actually that high. Sure, that's what. 71%. Gosh. They gotta be joking for sure. Can't be that high.
Ahead of the Australian Open. The world number one's appeal against his cancelled visa will be heard in the federal court today. The exclusive Sunday Age survey also found 14% of respondents wanted Djokovic to stay.
Yeah, 14%. Well, man, 14%. These are those awake in Australia. At least Australia's at least got some kind of brain. At least they got a willing to think.
While 15% were indifferent. If his appeal is upheld, he will have the opportunity to defend his title and become the all-time men's leader with 21 Grand Slam crowns. A hearing.
Grand Slam crown, but not just that, but he'll become an example for those who only got the jab. That's why they probably don't want him to play. To say, Rani said, Visa says he wants to play in the tournament. Yeah. Looks like it's not going to be the case because, man, you can see him winning the trophy, man, and that's what you get when you do win the tournament. But when he actually arrived back, yeah, Novak welcome back in Serbia after Australian deportation. Yep, deported for not being jabbed. Gosh, really? Man, because you can't get deported from Australia for even having the wrong opinions. And man, it is really absurd. The most absurd thing ever I heard. Well, I'll probably decide to mute the music just in case it is copyrighted. Yeah. Australian Immigration Minister Alex Hawke exercised his personal power to cancel Djokovic's visa on the grounds that percent that could excite anti-vaccine sentiment. Ho, ho, ho. Wow, wow, wow. Macro moly. Because they know it's just more than just it's more than, because if he does get far in the tournament though, or even close to winning it, because you all know it's just more than just winning the tournament. It's more about setting an example. Oh yeah, there's a says that Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison argued that Australia made many sacrifices during the pandemic, yet sacrificing people's freedoms. And yeah, no, it is bad, it's just as bad as they're doing, man. Gosh, because they got an agenda. They want to fulfill that agenda, which yet the World Economic Agenda, which is part of the elites, the New World Order's elites, part of Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and they want to, part of fulfilling that new normal agenda, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Yeah, and that's all, but at least the spirits are high when he actually return, and you can see the Serbian flag, and man, the fans raised the Serbian flag as Novak Djokovic arrived at the Nikola Tesla Airport. So they actually did name the airport after Nikola Tesla, because Nikola Tesla was the inventor of the AC generator, and man, Nikola Tesla, man, he was an awesome fella. Had so many ideas, so many inventions, man. Man, he is worth looking at, and man, but he's often overlooked. Yeah, people, man, oh man. So he lost here after the second battle though. Because
his pictures coming out of Belgrade Airport in the Serbian capital. Well, world number one, Novak Djokovic, has arrived after leaving Australia late last night. So we can see images here of the airport terminal in Belgrade. Of course, Novak Djokovic boarded the Emirates flight late last night after his bid to stay in Australia failed. This was when a federal court upheld a government decision to deport the world number one. Here's also some shots of him literally on the flight. It looks like he was on business class there. I'm assuming someone from the flight has taken that shot. The tennis star has, of course, been embroiled in this lengthy saga over his right to stay in the country to compete in the Australian Open, which began tonight. Now, Novak Djokovic was set to take centre court 3 hours ago on Rod Laver Arena for his first match of the Australian Open, which was abruptly ended last night when this federal court decision didn't go through. He's currently unvaccinated, arrived in Australia with an exemption, which was approved by the Victorian government. These are live shots coming out of the airport and the plane here where Novak Djokovic has arrived in Belgrade. Then his visa was cancelled. From there, he was sent to Melbourne's Park Hotel, which acts as an immigration hotel. And that is where he launched a legal campaign to overturn the federal government's decision to, of course, cancel his visa, which culminated in Judge Anthony Kelly last Friday, reinstating the visa, which then culminated in Immigration Minister Alex Hawke revoking the world's number one's visa 4 days later. That was all due to the ministerial powers. So there's a lot still to be said with this particular story. Right now, he's facing a deportation of 3 years, which means he's not allowed to enter the country for 3 years as it stands. So where does that put his Australian Open hopes for the next couple of years? Also, it's looking like he's facing the legal fees of the Australian government as a result of this action. There he is there walking off the plane. You can see live pictures here of Novak Djokovic, the world number one, who has landed back in Belgrade in Serbia, in his hometown and city, after, of course, being deported from Australia for not being vaccinated and not allowed to enter the country based on his vaccination status. He is still unvaccinated. Doesn't look like he's going to budge on that at all. Mr. Djokovic has challenged the decision in the Australian courts, and the decision was, of course, upheld by the Federal Court of Australia yesterday late in the evening, with Mr. Djokovic ordered to leave the country. You can see these shots of him arriving in the airport. So he's not getting any special treatment here. You can see these shots right from Belgrade in Serbia. So no special treatment for the tennis player who, of course, was banned from Australia and deported back to Serbia. The tennis player has been hoping to make, of course, Grand Slam history by securing a record-breaking 21st title at the Australian Open. That won't be happening this year because, of course, he has been deported. So there are some shots coming into us. We'll keep you posted as this story continues to unfold.
Well, people, so 3 years he's banned from entering Australia, so he can't go back like till about 2025. And man, people, if they can do things like that to Novak Djokovic, they can do this to anyone. So, and man, people, man, you gotta wake up, cause man, they can do this to anyone. Cause I'll probably say it one more time. Cause they know they can't allow the unjabbed set an example. They can't. Because they know the elites are scared of people who not going along with the grain, going along with the agenda. They're afraid of people who like standing out and fighting back, man. And people, we all know that. We all have to wake up, because there could be other athletes could be denied into tournaments because they haven't got the jab. Yeah, and of course the elites have got an agenda, and we know we all have to stop them from succeeding. They cannot succeed, people, because we know that it's going to be a dark future ahead. And we all got to make a stand, people. And I'll say, man, Novak Djokovic, I know you did fight the good fight. And I'll say, remain firm and don't get discouraged. We know there could be another destiny lies ahead for you, and we know and it's time that we all got to fight another battle, and we got to fight this battle, man, and we will win, and freedom will reign again. Yes, freedom will reign again. And it's time that we all need to stand up and fight back and reverse their agenda. Reverse it, and we know that elites are really fighting hard because they know their time is coming. Because they know they're running out of time. They want to get this agenda 2030 in. They really want this in, and they want the surveillance, the social credit system, man, and those people. And I know getting off topic though, but it's just my own point of view, people, and I think this is all I gotta say for now. And for anyone in Serbia, man, if you end up coming across my videos, you feel free to comment as well. It doesn't matter, it's in Serbia, I'll be happy to translate myself and hear your opinions, because man, they can do this to any other athletes though, not just tennis stars, but also other athletes. I think this is all I got to really say for now, because I'm just going to keep rambling on. I'll say, people, this is Matthew Miller, the Maluro Kiwi. I'll say, people, let's talk to each other, let's share ideas, and let's bring it into practice. And let's build great things, and let's bring humankind to the next level. And that's all I got to say for now, and bye bye, and thank you for watching.